Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time sphere you're within at the moment. My name's Colin and this is my friend Frank.
Hello.
And we're in Lano Woodley and this is the official audio commentary for our Goodbye DVD. And isn't it funny how this will be the last audio commentary that we do, Frank, I guess, as a duo?
Yeah, probably will be.
I mean, of course, when we come back in 5 years' time and do the reunion DVD, we'll probably be doing a commentary for that.
And you never know, we might make a feature film or something like that. You never know.
Yeah, we might make a feature
we've
film.
wanted to do that for
right.
a long time, and if we get the chance to do that, we'll do that. We might do a commentary on that.
Yeah, or we might just... can you do an audio commentary just on some photographs, like a film of that?
Oh, yeah? Or maybe on someone else's film. We'll just, we'll do a commentary on Star Wars.
Let's do a commentary just on the film that just kind of builds up just as kind of grit on the top of a bench or something, you know, that kind of film.
Isn't this bench dusty? Yeah, okay.
You know the film I'm talking about,
I'm with you.
just the little kind of greasy kind of film that...
Yeah, I believe that's human grease and skin that makes that.
Yeah. So this is the audio commentary for the Goodbye show that was recorded... What date, Francis?
I don't know. It was April.
If you're looking at the DVD cover now, you'd probably be able to see the date because I think it's on the front.
I'm not great with dates. Like, even if I have to sign something and I have to sign the date, I often have to think, and this is true, I wish this was a joke, I often have to think, what month is it?
I think that the sign that you are not that concerned with the date is how long into the next year do you actually still write the previous year at the end of the date?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's been even April, May by the time I've actually started going, like, 06
Have you
instead
hit
of
the
05.
thing with your age now where sometimes you don't even know how old you are? Where people go, how old are you? And you go, oh, I'm 37. No, I'm 38. Am I 39? No, I'm 38. I am 38.
Once you get to 40, you know how old you are, Frankie.
I do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I knew I was like that. When I was 36, 37, I was like that. But once you get to 40...
Maybe it'll come around again when you get to like 47, 48.
Yeah,
around that
exactly,
age,
exactly.
But anyway.
So
thanks for all tuning in on our DVD commentary. It's been illuminating so far, hasn't it? Should we actually be commenting something about what is the vision that we're seeing? Is that how it works?
I think so, but it's kind of hard because once you think about something to say, the moment has already passed. And...
you know what I think is terrific?
Yeah.
Did you see the shot of the audience we just had then?
Yeah.
I love how we computer affected that there as well, so it looks like that it was full. When really there was only 12 or 13 people in the audience.
So
and then we doubled them all up and spread them out.
So it's all CGI, is that what it's called?
I think so.
Computer-generated image.
Good man.
Thanks very much. And it's good that we CGI'd in the jokes as well.
Yeah.
Because on the night, we didn't have any.
No, that's right.
We CGI'd Frank's hat on his head. And
that penis that I just did there with my hand.
As well. It kind of intrigues me how beautifully neat that penis action is. How it just, it's just quite precise.
I'm an artist.
You are an artist, yes.
Even when I'm just doing a joke about squeezing my anal sphincter and making my penis twitch, I put my heart and soul into that.
Yeah.
I practice that for hours and hours and hours at home.
Because I've seen a lot of documentaries about
That's a lovely shot there.
Ballet dancers, how precise they have to be with their movements and their fingers and every minute detail.
Yeah.
And seeing documentaries of the director going, no, you've got to. It's more like this, and around that you do this 5, 6, 7, and then you've got to get it precise. If only that was the same way that people directed comedy. When you squeeze your anal sphincter and you make the finger move, I think it should just be 1.5 centimeters and then back. Okay, so let's try that again.
That's the classical approach to doing penis jokes.
Yes. So this routine was actually written for Bruiser, the sign language routine.
But then we sort of adapted it to be about our Goodbye show.
Goodbye show. So there was elements, because it was always a regret of ours not to actually film properly Bruiser, I think. And there was a lot
So there's never going to be really a record of Bruiser.
There's never going to be a record of Bruiser, no.
Which may be for the best. Because, there was some rubbish in there. But no, it was all right. No, it was good.
No, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed bits of it.
You didn't enjoy the fact that when I wore the muscle suit for half of the show, and you wore the same muscle suit for the other half of the show, and you didn't really enjoy the fact that I sweat quite profusely on stage, don't I? And you had to, you didn't enjoy that much.
No, I kind of liked the looks that we would get because it was such a high-tech kind of suit with latex and rubber and lots of intricate paint job and that kind of stuff that we would never put it in luggage. We would always take it on as on-flight carry-on luggage, and it would always be in this red Santa sack looking thing. For some reason, I don't know why we chose red as the sack's colour.
That's the guy who made it, just provided us with that sack.
But then one of us would carry it onto the plane and people would just make cracks about us being Santa and that kind of stuff. And I don't know why I'm telling this story, because it has a beginning, but no middle and not much of an end.
Maybe there's something about the fact that it was carry-on luggage, and there was always a bit of a carry-on about the sack.
Carry on.
It was carry-on luggage. If you opened it up, Sid James got out of it.
Right. Yeah. And how many people who are watching this DVD and listening to this audio commentary would know who Sid James was? Because you basically have to be over 30,
probably.
Really. I mean, also you have to have watched a fair bit of British comedy on TV in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, no, I have to pay copyright now, don't I?
No, I don't think you sang enough of it.
Right, because I was just about to sing the theme song to Bless This House, which was one of Sid James' last shows that he did, which I kind of loved. I liked his character in that.
Oh, Sid James was fantastic. You know, he died on stage. Like, I don't mean he told a joke that fell flat. This is what I've heard.
I was going to say that you have quite a lot of similarities to Sid James.
Yeah. No, apparently he was doing a performance, doing a show, and he died during the performance, and people didn't realise he died, and they just thought it was part of the show. And yeah, that's what I've heard. I don't know if that's
that would be bizarre, though,
myth,
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, does he? And then the show's over, and then. Do people ask for their money back?
I've got a feeling we might have talked about this on the commentary for the island because we called one of our co-pilots, Sid James, in the island. When the pilot went.
Sydney James, that's right.
And then I think we might have started talking about that on the commentary on the island, and then I might have said that Sid James died on stage. I'm not sure. Get out if you've got the island DVD. Get it out. Go through the commentary. Get to the bit in the plane and see if we're repeating ourselves.
Yeah. I can't believe that would ever happen.
Speaking of repeating ourselves, this little routine here, where we do the
inconspicuous soldiers thing,
that was originally from our show Curtains, and the Curtains show was before we made the TV series, and we included that little routine in the Mother episode.
That's exactly right.
In the restaurant.
That's exactly right.
But we believe in recycling.
Yeah, we're very environmentally friendly when it comes to jokes. What was the pretense? No, not
pretext.
No, context. Context.
Okay.
For that being in Curtains, of me saying being inconspicuous.
I don't know. I can't remember.
You can't remember?
No, I can't remember very well at all. But I'm pretty sure it was. Maybe it wasn't.
Maybe you're pretty sure it was, but maybe it wasn't. So you're not actually sure.
No, not really.
You're a little bit sure.
I'm sure, but I'm also quite pretty as well. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I understand.
I am quite pretty, don't you think? Do you like the gown I'm wearing at the moment? Do you think the false eyelashes are a bit too much, or?
I'm kind of just a bit intrigued about what your motives are for dressing up as a woman to do the auto commentary. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I wanted to make a special effort just for you. If we're going to be sharing this tiny little room, which for the people at home, we're in a room that's about, I reckon, it's about exactly the same volume as me and Colin's combined volume. There's not much extra space in here.
That's a nice kind of mathematical term that you used there, because would it confuse? I mean, not me, because...
Oh, we're not talking about the volume, the sound.
Not the sound,
how
but
loud
the actual volume of what the room would hold.
Here's a little question.
Yeah.
Do you reckon...
How long into an audio commentary should you actually mention something about what people are watching?
I'm going to now.
Oh, you're going to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The little mics that we've got,
yes,
that are going to the face there, make us look a little bit like we're presenting at some sort of corporate conference or something.
Yeah.
But do you reckon that yours should have been on the other side of your face? Because you spend most of your time facing that way.
Yes.
Whereas I spend most of my time facing the other way, so you don't see it as much. But do you reckon there is that? Is there any chance we could get the CGI guy to do something about that?
I think that we could, but I'm not sure whether it's kind of high on our priority list to actually do it. But it's a very good point. And those microphones are great.
Oh, they
aren't
are
they?
good.
They are fantastic. Back in the old days, we were very, very afraid of microphones because we didn't really know how to use them. But because of the technology being so good in the last few years, you can actually get really good kind of radio mics. When in the past,
because when we first started,
available,
and you'd see people using them, but they'd always be a little bit of feedback or
be
just
very unreliable and very expensive, and
but they're great.
Break down a lot.
And do you know what I'd like to mention? A thank you to I think it was, I don't know if it was James Savage or Darren Kawaki, but our stage
Darren Kawaki was the stage manager and James Savage was
the technical manager kind of on tour. And that little script there usually didn't have anything written on it at all, but we were referring to it as if it was the script that you'd written.
Yes.
And then one of them, I don't know which one, typed out the script saying Wall of China, gave us each some lines.
Is the whole script is on that
There's
script?
a whole script on there. So when we look at it, it is actually a Wall of China script.
And I like it too, that was my mobile phone.
Oh, that's
I was
right. Would you like to
text.
take the call or just a text?
No, it was just a text.
Would you like to read it?
Yeah, I'll read it, sure.
Okay.
Hang on a minute. I'd just like to say that it's just those... because I'm a performer, I always see shows, and whenever they use an envelope or a piece of paper or a manila folder in a play, you see it in the third week, and the envelope is just crumpled and dirty, or the folder is just kind of, it's just been worn from just being used all through rehearsals and then during the show. And then Darren, I think, replaces that script every 2 or 3 days.
He's very good.
So it's fresh.
Yeah.
Because I hit you quite...
Right.
hard with it.
Yeah.
So he replaces it every 2 or 3 days.
They're really the two people who have actually worked through this whole escapade, don't you reckon?
Yeah, I think so.
We kind of just swan in and do the show and have fun, and they've worked very hard. So thanks, fellas, for that.
I said hi.
I love...
Guy.
One of the things I love the most is... is your reactions.
I thought you were going to say the thing I love most is my performance.
No,
in this bit. Look at me now. Look at me now.
I love reactions in comedy where there's no reaction, but it says so much. Like it just cuts to a person who's just looking.
Well, people say that that's what comedy is all about, the reaction.
Right. There's a heap in those.
People. No, intelligent people.
Where I'm doing something, desperately trying to get a laugh or ridiculous or whatever, and it cuts to a shot of you, and it's not as if you don't even look particularly outraged or anything. You just look a little tiny. There's this tiny little touch of disgust, and that's all you need. I think that's I like that. There's a fantastic Buster Keaton routine where he's not even in it. But it's in his film The General, where they send there's a general there and they say we can't send the train over this bridge because the bridge is too burnt. Mm-hmm. And there's a general sitting up on his horse looking very pompous, and he goes, the bridge is fine, send it across. And then they send the train over the bridge and it just collapses and this massive train falls into a ravine. And then they just cut to a shot of the general who's given the order to say it's okay to go across. And he doesn't do anything. He just, and it holds a shot of his face for about 2 or 3 seconds, just
doing
nothing, and it is so funny.
So powerful.
Yeah, it's great.
But isn't that what they say about, should we be commenting on stuff from the show? It's pretty similar. Maybe people who have bought the Island DVD, who have listened to the audio commentary, may have learnt that it bears no resemblance to anything that they're watching at the time. So
because
they might not even bother
much,
listening to this one.
How much can we comment on what's actually happening? What do we say? Like, the way that I touched his shoulder then was... we made that decision in,
I reckon that we would be commenting on certain bits of the show in a way that signified that we'd actually put in some preparation into what we were going to talk about.
Preparation? What's that word you speak of?
I do not know.
Here's an interesting little thing, though. On that bit there, it just reminded me how one of the things when we're watching the DVD that can be not exactly frustrating, but it's kind of there's a bit of conflict in you because we did that in April, but we've done the show
100 times since then.
And little bits have changed, and there's the odd little joke that we've put in and or tried and it's worked. And I was just thinking then when I touch you,
Yeah.
you really do a lot more with the kind
Doesn't
of way.
that car look so small? It's bizarre. Anyway, sorry.
How big is it?
Well, it's about probably 12 inches, 14 inches long. And that car, I reckon, looks about 3 inches long.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of an
Like
Elysian.
just a bit bigger than a Matchbox car, basically.
Yeah, but it's about 5 times that big, isn't it?
Little gift for you. It's good.
We'll improve it with CGI.
But in that little bit where I touch you over by the flowers, I touch you by the flowers.
He touches me by the door. He's a lovely person.
You now do a lot more with
He's
your
a man
kind
I adore.
of over top. You're over. Shush
Sorry.
now. Oh, go on. Actually,
Frankie touches me in the morning. Frankie touches
help
me
me.
in the night.
I'm in a small room with-
Very small volume. His volume's too big, but the volume of the room's too small.
yeah, you do a lot more with the little dancing. Like your reaction to me touching you, there's some really fun. And we were looking through just some footage that we'd taken just as kind of home video, kind of just on your video. And there was that night when you did the massive modern dance around the stage at that point.
Yeah.
Got applause.
Yeah.
It was laughter into applause, and then you haven't done it since.
Well, I don't want to repeat myself.
Right. Is it just because you're too lazy to dance around more than once every 6 months?
Anyway, this is this is a very nice little moment. I feel quite poignant, isn't it? Is this pathos? Would this qualify as pathos?
I don't know, because it's a little bit sort of mock. There's a word called bathos with a B, but I don't know. I
That's
think
pathos when you're having a bath. That's bathos.
maybe there is a word. Look it up and
Okay.
see. There's pathos and bathos. I think bathos might be when you're sending up pathos or something. I don't know.
Really?
I'm losing confidence.
Yeah, I think you should be. Because getting back to the reactions thing
Yeah.
of the general in
Yeah,
Buster
yeah.
Keaton, I think that's it's similar to Russell Crowe or Colin Farrell or Helen Mirren or
Yeah. Just great actors.
just
Is that
great
what you-
actors.
Yeah.
On film, you can do something, or that there's been a tragic death in the family, and then you take a shot of them, and so many people can have actually a different attitude about what that actor is doing at that time.
Right.
Because what they're doing is so minimal.
Right.
There's so many interpretations of what different people could think.
Right.
It's going through their mind.
And then that makes it more powerful for the viewer, does it? Because
I don't know.
it is a bit like that. That when
I
you
say stuff, but I have no conclusions to what I say.
That's good. That's what I think.
Conversation is all
I
about.
think so. Yeah, I'm all for it. Now, clearly, in this bit here, we didn't have those screens come up in the theatre floating in air like
No,
that. did
and
we?
also we didn't have the lines and old film look in the theatre because
No.
that would be impossible.
No, but it was happening on the screen behind us.
Yes.
And we had some flickering lights.
So
and-
we've got the flickering old film kind of look being
Yeah.
put on afterwards. That is
Yeah.
CGI. I
It
guess.
is a little bit, yeah.
It
We
is.
made a little bit of a decision on this one to kind of, because it was a little bit difficult to sort of communicate what we'd done in the theatre on the DVD.
Yes.
So we've gone for, that's a bit rude. You see what you said there?
Yeah. So if we do a version of this show that has no swearing like we did
Like
in the island,
a menu choice
a
on
menu
the DVD.
choice, like if you've got under 15-year-old kids or whatever,
Yeah.
that you don't want them to listen to the swearing, do you block out the fucking
No, I
on
think
the print as
I
well?
think you just say in brackets, and the children must be illiterate as well.
Right.
I must say, I like the look of the show, the kind of the design. Though I'm happy with how that's
I think it was
worked out.
Kevin White, our manager, that had the original thought of the design of the poster,
Yep.
which was the hill and the path and the grey clouds and the goodbye.
Yeah, and us kind of heading over the hill in silhouette and the big
Yeah.
heads on the side as well.
Yeah, because we always wanted people to think that Lano Woodley weren't separating. We were actually just going off to another place.
So we're going over the hill together.
We're going over the hill together. We're not actually having a huge bust up and splitting up. We're actually going off somewhere else together.
Yep.
And then we used elements of that poster design to provide backdrops and design features in the show. So there's a projector in the auditorium about 7 metres above where we are, basically, shooting images onto the screen. And then during the bruiser bit of the show, there's another projector shining light onto the screen.
Although that's not in the show anymore.
Oh, no, that's not in the show anymore.
But that's brings up an interesting point, which is that...
Why did we cut it from the show?
Because it's great. No, but there was a few bits in the show that ended up getting cut mainly because they were just too difficult to film. Because they were so complicated and everything. So if you want to see the Bruiser thing, you'll have to come and see us at the... Oh, no.
Oh, no.
There's no more shows.
There's no more shows. By the time people see this,
well,
there's no more shows.
If you saw the live show and you saw the Bruiser thing, glad that you enjoyed it. And if you haven't seen it and it's a bit rude we're talking about it.
Because, by the way, we're in Perth at the moment.
Yeah.
In doing our final shows in Perth. And today, I would say, is the, 20th of September? Something like that. 19th?
I don't know yet.
And Perth is just finals feverdom at the moment because the Eagles and Freo are in the finals of AFL football, but that might not interest people if they are not interested in AFL football.
When they're watching the DVD, they'll now know who won. And
that's true. But if they're from Uzbekistan, they might not be that interested in Freo.
Which
or
we've
not
got a
even
massive.
know what I'm talking about.
We've got a massive kind of cult following in Uzbekistan, haven't we?
Don't we? Yes, Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
But I like the suits. I like the backdrops.
Yeah.
And do you reckon anybody knows? Its design is such a intricate and complicated business because it's all about perception, isn't it? It's not actually what you see, but it's actually what you kind of see. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you don't know what you see until after you've seen it.
Right.
For example, people might say, was Frank's hat the same colour as Cole's tie?
Right.
And then after the show, people would go, I think it was.
And
but
we
at the
did
time,
consciously make that decision.
Yes,
but hopefully people, a lot of the... I know what you're saying. You're sort of saying a lot of the...
If
design
you
is
know
working...
what I'm saying, could you please let me know? That would be great. Could you text me?
It's like in a lot of...
Watch out for the slipping on the powder there, Matty. I love that bit.
In a lot of... art, or if something's working, you don't see it. You don't notice it because it's actually just been sort of integrated so naturally that it doesn't stand out, but it actually does make the thing work better. And I reckon that's a perfect example, the fact that you've got maroon in your tie and I've got maroon on my hat. But
yes.
Very good. We should probably mention
and
visual...
you've got a green tie, and I'm very envious of you.
Well, you've got green prickles in your hand
green
at
prickles.
that point.
That's right. Yes.
And we should probably mention Visual Playground, they were the people who actually took the concepts we had of taking the elements of the poster and turning them into, projected visual loops,
yes,
film loops on the back, and they actually did all that stuff, and they did a fantastic job.
They did a fantastic job.
Happy with, and they created the little animation introduction piece at the start, and some other bits that are coming up later on.
Yes, that's right. And this routine was from Curtains as well.
Yep.
Yes.
I remember when we did Curtains in Edinburgh, and that was in '95, and we didn't know that there was a massive fireworks ceremony going to be on one of the nights that we're performing, and we were performing to sold out audiences every night,
like a 300 or 400 seater or something.
Yeah, and it was packed every night. And then one night we turned up for the show, and there was 8 people in the audience, and that's because everybody was out watching the fireworks, and we had to do the show for those 8 people while we could hear
the fireworks
explosions and the fireworks going on. And
so all of us just didn't want to be there. Really, we just wanted to be watching the fireworks outside. And at the Edinburgh Festival, the fireworks are incredible.
Yeah, they are. They're very good.
Edinburgh is incredible. Go to Edinburgh. Go on.
It's beautiful.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of old stuff, and they got a lot of nice people as well. that you can talk to.
And the Edinburgh Festival is absolutely incredible. I mean, it's so...
It is.
Apparently the population triples during the festival, and there's just thousands of shows on. And in fact, a lot of the streets that have got like, 3 or 4 lanes, during the festival, there's so many posters on the walls of the streets that they infringe on the roads, and there's only 1 lane left. Did that make sense? I tried to paint a picture of walls that had so many posters on that they'd filled up the streets, but didn't
that's
quite.
one of those jokes that you've been doing since we went to Edinburgh in 19... Well, we went as a trio in 1989 as Found Objects. We went as a trio with Rachel Berger and a group called the Natural Normans. And you did that joke, I think, in 89. And I think you've done that joke or that story since then about, let's say, 62 times.
And I've never worked out how to make it funny.
No,
have I?
you've never worked out how to make it funny.
Should I just let it go, do you think?
I think it's pretty close to the time, yeah,
Okay.
where you could just let it go. Because sometimes jokes you don't know why they work, and sometimes
Yeah.
why they don't work. But I think that one doesn't work.
Okay.
By the way,
Thanks for the
just
clear
I'd
feedback.
like to put it on record.
Speaking of the floating the bowling ball that just happened then, that's an interesting one, how sometimes people actually go when it floats.
Yeah.
And other times they're kind of ahead of us and they know that it's a balloon as soon as it floats, sort of thing. It's an interesting...
The thing that disappoints me is that I've seen the show 150 times, and when it floats, sometimes I go,
It floated.
it floated. What are we doing here? Oh, we're having a little chat. And
I
then-
think you're telling me what sort of intro I should
that's
give
right.
you.
Yeah. Oh, cripes.
Bit of a heckle there from
Oh,
the
is it a
audience.
heckle? I think it's just a request.
Oh, okay. So it's not... Oh, does a heckle have to be... For it to be called a heckle...
Well, I think sometimes now when people yell stuff out, we go, that's the weirdest heckle that we've ever had. But it actually, I think the heckle has to be negative to be termed as a heckle.
Oh, okay.
I think if people just yell out stuff, that's just like a suggestion or a request.
Right.
Or they're getting a bit excited.
Right, okay.
But I
okay.
think heckles, the roots of heckling are that it's kind of a negative thing.
When you said the roots of heckling, that made me think, like, imagine if you're actually having sexual intimacy with a heckler and they heckled you. They're like, you're not sexy! Get off me! Get off me! Get off me!
Is that from personal experience?
No.
Are you heckled by your
I've
wife?
never had an experience of sexual intimacy. No.
Haven't you?
Oh, you're getting into the hole that we have actually got wives. There are other lives.
There are
we
other
lead
lives
behind
away from the Lano Woodley world. This song is actually based on an experience I had at college when I was at university. When I had this little kind of weird, I don't know whether you ever had this, but I had this little weird kind of I mean, I was 20 or something.
Yeah.
But you just kind of look at this girl and she looks at you over a number of weeks.
Okay.
And you don't have the guts or you just don't have the inclination to actually make contact.
But you're both developing a really full-on crush with each other.
Yeah, you're
but
doing
it's
this
a
little
bit
kind of crush thing. It's
flirtatious
fun, you know,
yeah.
and the funnest bit is probably
Yeah.
the bit before you talk to them.
Yeah.
Because it's so mysterious and
Yeah.
exciting. And so we had this little thing where we kept on they kept on looking at each other
Yeah.
over a period of weeks. And then finally, at one of those kind of university nights, I started talking to her. And the voice that came out of her mouth was just not what I was expecting. It was like, hi, I'm Colin, and how you going? And she went, oh yeah, how you going? It's great to be here, isn't it? We're really chopped in. She was, I don't know, she was like that. She was like that. She was like a bandsaw. And I love bands. And I saw a lot of bands when I was at university.
But you didn't want to cuddle a bandsaw.
No, that really hurt my throat, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have a drink of water.
That's a commitment you make to... Oh, you drinking that water is making me feel like urinating. I'm going to have a wee. No, I'm not. That's not the sound like a turkey had come in here.
I'm going to go and do wee.
I tried to make the sound of water, cascading, but I'm no umbilical brother. Let me
No,
say
you're
that.
no umbilical brother, that's for sure. Umbilical brothers, they do a lot of sound effects and stuff for people who
Very
don't know
good.
them. Dave
Genie
and
eye.
Shane. Very genie eye. They're good because they've got wit,
And
but they've got highly skilled talents as well, haven't they? We've got kind of
Nothing.
We've got nothing. We've got a good rapport. We've got some wit, but we haven't got incredible skills. Like
No.
people actually franchised Puppetry of the Penis, and they were talking about and they franchised the Wiggles.
Right.
And they're talking about franchising the Umbilical Brothers, but you could never franchise Lano Woodley. I mean, imagine the script. You know.
Yeah, I can't imagine it would work. But,
You know.
oh, you just said the word.
Yeah, see, when I said wit, I meant not that sophisticated wit. So,
Yeah.
see, nice guitar playing there, Frank.
Oh, thanks. That's a change. Bit of a fluke. On the CD that we did, Sing Songs.
Yes.
We sing Cross the Line, and
Yeah.
and I always, because we just recorded that live, and we just recorded the night as is, it's warts and all. And at the end of that, cross the line, I sing a really off note. And whenever I listen to it, which is every night, I play it in my
Do you?
I play it in my car and it's on my iPod, just listening to it constantly.
Yeah.
No, but when I did listen to it when we were, editing it together, I just went, oh, that's unfortunate. I wish they had a little magic pitch shifter they could. But anyway, hey, it's gone to Mars.
It's gone to Mars. It's all right. It's okay. It'll be all right. See, that's good reaction.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah. What's he doing?
And it is very tall.
Doopy doopy doo. Can you tell that we have run out of things to say?
If I could go
We haven't even got to the end of the first half,
but I'm
and it's all gone kind of quiet. But then we'll think of something. Frank will think of something
You're on your own.
while I'm singing. You thought nothing?
I should have been thinking of something.
Think of
while
something
you were singing.
while I was singing.
just enjoying your singing.
All right. Okay, I'm going to sing during my bit, and you have to think of something to say. Okay. Okay.
But don't sing very well, or I'll listen to you.
But shouldn't I sing?
Okay, I'll put my
Reason-
fingers in my ears.
Okay, should I sing reasonably well so that people listening to this aren't kind of put off by just a guy singing kind of just...
Yeah, okay, so I'll put my fingers in my
Okay.
ears so I don't listen to you, and I'll try to think of something to say.
Okay. I'm going to make it feel all right. Is it all right? Is that kooky to do what I'm
So,
doing?
hey,
on-
see if you can do a harmony to yourself.
I've gotten some beat to show, and it's ready to explode. You give your man that invitation, just lay still until they're moving. That's right, babe, we're nearly there. Don't stop me now, it isn't fair. Oh, yeah, that's very nice. I'm in paradise.
that was too good. I wanted to listen to that, so I haven't thought of anything funny to say. Sorry.
I'll harmonise with this.
Bouncy, bouncy rabbit. I'm gonna make you feel
I could talk about my how much I love my guitar. Because when I bought that guitar, I went around.
That's it.
And
That's interesting. But
No.
yeah, please.
Well, just that I went around and I looked at about, I played about 60 guitars, and I was starting to think, oh, maybe I should just be happy with those. And then when I played that guitar, I
You
just
just
went, I love that guitar. And it's called a Maiden Messiah. It's got
Is it?
delusions of grandeur. It thinks it's actually the Lord reborn in guitar form.
Because
But it's pretty close.
Because Frank always says that if you're going to teach somebody guitar, it's always better for them to learn on a reasonably good guitar.
Yeah, that's one of the big mistakes that happens is that because you're just learning, you think, I don't want to invest
You buy
in
a $70 guitar.
Yeah, and $70 guitars.
A $70 guitars are very hard to play.
They are. They're much harder. So then you end up going, I can't play very well. But it's because even a good guitarist would struggle to play well on that guitar because so. There you go.
So why do you have such a good guitar? You're not a good guitarist.
No, but
Good-
But it helps me. It helps me a lot.
That's true.
Having, because a bad guitarist always blames some tool. What did that mean? Me. I'm the tool playing the guitar, maybe.
I'm not that thrilled with
This little section?
yeah
We don't do this in the show,
anymore.
really. But we just
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
just depending on how we're feeling, and
Yeah.
and it went a little bit wrong with this bit, and there was a discussion during the editing. Would we keep in this little bit because it was not really.
I'd like to
great,
say,
but-
I would have liked to have said that it was a heated discussion, but it was really just a discussion. It wasn't even a discussion, it was just a small chat.
Right. Will we keep it in?
Yeah,
okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. The guitar strap doesn't really fit anything in the design, though.
No,
really, 'cause
that's
it's a
true.
different shade of green to your
That's
tie.
true.
And I
That's
was
true.
always a little bit disappointed in your choice of guitar straps.
Yeah, you've mentioned that a few times actually, and I should have probably done something about it. You're right, actually.
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. It should have been somehow matching in with my
Should have
tie,
been
or
matching the suit or the guitar or the...
maybe your tie again, or
Or
something.
maybe should have been brown,
yeah,
like
yeah.
chocolate brown like the shirts.
Yeah. You know what? Is there anything we can do about that with CGI? We could get them to
I don't know, maybe we could do something with CSI.
CSI, Melbourne
CSI Melbourne, yeah.
at Her Majesty's. Was it?
And we wrote this song well, I didn't, Frank did, but we thought about this song for the island, and we had a humongously intricate backing track that Mal Webb, who did the music for the TV series, he did a fantastic backing track to this song, and Frank sang it in the trial shows that we did in Albury about 2 or 3 years ago in the island.
Yeah.
And it never worked. It kind of just didn't quite happen, and the show was kind of complicated, and we were trying to make kind of savage edits to get the show into a reasonable shape, and that kind of fell by the wayside, that song. And
then-
now it's just grouse.
The next.
Grouse is good. It's a Victorian term.
Yeah. The next time we thought, maybe I'll just try playing it with the guitar myself.
And then you can control the timing of it and
Yeah.
the
and
breath,
Yeah.
the breaths that you have
I
to
mean,
take.
there would probably be like heaps of bits like that we've written over the years that actually would have been really good, but we just didn't have time to make them work, and they got cut, and we've completely forgotten about them. That's part of the just putting together shows, writing shows.
And that's to do with anything creative. That's to do with designing a house or designing a car or pruning your rose bush in a certain way. I mean, you make decisions, and you
Have
have
you
to...
ever pruned a rose bush in a certain way?
I've eaten a prune.
That's close enough for me.
I've eaten a prune, but I've never tried prune juice. But and this is from Curtains, I think, as well. This
Yeah, the kind of voiceover
The
thing
voiceover
that
stuff.
we've kind of used as a bit of a structure, sort of through the
Yes.
show to create a little bit of. No, it's not exactly narrative, but it's almost.
no, but I think
almost narrative.
that's the way that we've always tried to write shows. In that people really love narrative. They really
Yes.
love following a story. But it's also, I mean, I'm not saying this because we're kind of slack, but it also just makes the job easier of writing jokes for a show. If you've got a narrative to
Give you a starting point.
give you
in
a starting
sense.
point, because so many times when I did, actually the one time I did teaching rounds while I was training to be a teacher.
Yeah, Cole could be teaching our young, and maybe that's what you can do after Lano Woodley split up. Go back to teaching.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know whether I can go back to teaching if I never actually did much of it.
But you did some teaching.
I did
rounds,
some
sorry.
teaching rounds, and one of the teachers who I met in a high school said that sometimes actually offering kids a broad brushstroke of what they can actually do is actually harder. Is a lot harder. Like if
Right.
you say to them, write an essay about whatever you want.
Right.
That's incredibly difficult for somebody to actually think of something.
Right, of
But
course,
if-
and nothing will be good enough.
Nothing will be good enough.
Yeah.
But if you, and so that is kind of interesting connection to the ways that we write a show as well. If we sat down and went, what do we want to write a show about? You just go, well, I don't know. You could write it about space,
Yeah.
doors, flowers,
Yeah.
bread.
But once you've got a starting
ear holes.
point,
Once
you
you've got a
can-
starting point, you
yeah.
actually start to build a structure and
Which is the
build
same
jokes.
thing. Just watching the wall of glasses here, I remember this routine started with. This routine probably goes for 7 minutes now, I reckon, and it
Yeah.
really started with the trick of pulling the tablecloth out underneath a pile of glasses. We didn't have any other jokes. We had nothing
But we
else.
had a finish.
But we had a finish.
Which is great.
Yeah, which we
when
knew
you
would
have
be
a finish.
good. Yeah, and then we worked our way back from there. So it's and a lot of things happen like that. Like I don't know if this is. I don't think it's letting too much. Letting the The cat out of the bag? What the hell was that cat doing in the bag anyway? That seems wrong. Get the RSPCA on the line. The giant eagle is going to make an appearance later in the show. Mm-hmm. And once similar to this, the Wall of Glasses thing, we actually had the giant eagle's final appearance in the show first. We knew we wanted it to make that appearance at the end, and then we worked our way back and placed references to a giant eagle so that then it would wouldn't just come out of nowhere, sort of thing. So yeah, that is one of the things that you do, you know.
So the structure is very important. I mean, it's not just two dickheads running around on stage desperately trying to get people to watch them.
Heaven forbid.
Heaven forbid.
The cave of hurtiness. So I don't know what that was.
I know what it was. It was average. No, it wasn't. It's good. It's good.
I think this little bit about the baby birds is. I don't think I see this bit.
Riddled with baby birds.
Not this bit.
Maybe they're
this bit.
What gets hurt?
That's not in the show now.
No, because
why isn't it?
Well, I think after a while I just felt like the audience didn't want the image of me stepping on baby birds. It just sort of disconcerted them a bit too much.
Yeah.
And so I think I do something else there now. And there's another point, like I used to say to you at the start, I'd go, I'm going to be the magic man. Who wants me to do my trick? And of course, you know, you ask for that and the audience applaud. And then I'd say, you could be my sexy assistant. Who wants Cole to be my sexy assistant? And the audience would applaud. Then I'd go, so get into the bikini. Who wants Cole to get into the bikini? And the audience would applaud just because I thought that was a funny image of conjuring up you being in the bikini. But you pointed out that when I say that, people then expect to see you in a bikini.
Yeah.
And they're a bit disappointed when you don't come out in the bikini. So, well, constantly adjusting and evolving and sometimes degenerating and regressing. But
we did a corporate gig though where we did the Wall of Glasses and I don't know how you became to be in a bikini and so far as the order of events in that show, but we had to do the glasses trick and then I had to give a few awards out at the corporate night and then Frank would go down to the audience and hand out the awards. And we were just going for cheap laughs, basically. And I just said, here's my sexy assistant. And then Frank came out in bikini. And 1,200 freight company workers thought that was hilarious. And I did too. And he gave out the awards.
When I was walking around through the crowd, I did get a few pats on the bum too.
Did you?
Which I didn't mind. I found it
did you get any $10 notes in your cleavage?
No, I'm not going to sue them for harassment or anything like that.
Right.
But I thought you were going to tell the story about the fact that we did the thing when we did the Wall of Glasses at that show, but the way that we ended it was the bowling ball fell from the roof and smashed all the glasses, and it was meant to go through the table and everything, but we'd rigged up the table wrong and it just bounced off the table off the stage into an area where there would have been an audience, except it was the dance floor that night. And a bowling ball actually bounced into the audience and we just went, oh, thank God, there's nobody sitting there.
Yes. I think the Minister for Police, the Chief of Police in Victoria was at that gig as well, so it could have been very ugly.
We would have been remembered if we'd killed the Chief of Police, though.
We would have been remembered, absolutely.
I mean, possibly, it was a rat covered in poo. I don't know, but
that's an interesting point to come in, a rat covered in poo.
Maybe it was a guinea pig. I don't know. Could have been a baby bird that flew in.
Well, maybe you know why the rat was covered in poo?
Listen to this. This is interesting.
That's the rat.
Yeah, that's the rat.
Hey. Appearance. What was that? You squeaking your foot against the chair?
My shoe against the chair.
You know why the rat was covered in poo?
Why?
Because it was swimming through the sewers.
Yes.
And it got a little bit stuck, but then it went on undeterred. Undeterred that's a joke I heard years ago.
Who you heard?
Sally Ann Upton told that joke once, but I don't know if it was her joke originally. She was doing a character who was a rat.
Yeah, that's right.
You remember that rat character
I
she
do,
used to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's one of Australia's comedic characters.
Forces?
Yeah.
Because there was a place in Melbourne called La Joke, and there was a place in Melbourne called The Last Laugh as well.
Yeah, we used to
but
perform
they don't
there.
exist anymore.
No.
I mean, the buildings exist, but that's where we kind of did a lot of our early stuff.
Yeah.
I don't even know where we first did this. Did we do this with the found objects with Scott? Or was it just
this was
you
in
and me?
this was in Slick. We did this in Slick. I remember doing it. And in
Right.
fact, the first few times we did it, the glasses and trays did fall off. and that's why I think, the truth be known, I think that it's a wall of plastics.
Yes, it is a wall of plastics because that's when it comes down to irresponsible performance. If you actually,
Because he is pulling that thing out from underneath there, and
The bottom tray.
although 99.9% of the time you get it right,
yes,
you did-
can't have glass on a stage smashing and hurting audience members.
I reckon,
It's a very quick moment where it turns from comedy to just people being pissed off.
I think a shard of glass in the eyeball, I reckon
It's not a good
you're not
look.
going to give the show a good review.
No.
You're not going to tell your friends, go and see the show, it's a great show.
No.
You know.
But if you've always loved Lano Woodley, you maybe would. You would. Hang on a
Even
minute.
then, I don't think losing the sight in your eye would be, you wouldn't be proud. You wouldn't
No,
carry
I'm
that
just
as a
trying
badge. Of,
desperately to do some joke about being one-eyed.
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm a
but
one-eyed
I'm a
watcher
one-eyed
of Lano and Woodley.
Yeah, I'm a one-eyed supporter of a football team. I'm a
no,
one-eyed.
we'll
you know.
get back to me, and when we do the other commentary for this DVD...
Yeah,
we
in the
can-
second half of the show, I would have come up with some joke about one-eyed. You know, because that's that horrible joke about the guy that he loses some skin around his eye,
Uh-oh.
and then they take some skin from his scrotum and put it on his eye,
Oh, yeah.
and then from then on he's cockeyed.
Oh, right. I could use that joke in this bit of the routine. I might try it tonight.
Okay.
I think you're going to say the joke. There's some joke about a guy who's just a head. What's that joke? Your baby was born and he was just a head. Can you remember?
I think that's one of those awful kind of jokes that were quite. Why couldn't the boy turn around in the corridor because he had a javelin through his head?
Oh, right, one of those
One of
great
those.
jokes that are so... I used to find those jokes quite funny until one day I did get a javelin through my head.
Yeah.
And ever since then I haven't seen the funny side of that.
Right.
Kind of
Where
humour.
do you go to get that done?
No, it was an accident.
Oh, it was an accident.
Yeah.
No, you don't go to a
Yeah.
tattooist. Like
No.
you get a tattoo
No, it
from
wasn't
a
like
tattooist.
a
You didn't go to a
piercing.
javelinist.
No,
it wasn't
it wasn't
an
like-
extreme groovy piercing. Instead of getting a pierced ear or
got
like
a
a stud in the
javelined head.
nose, you got a javelined head. Lovely.
Yeah.
Um,
It's always a risk with the audience shot. See how we're going to an audience shot there? It's always a risk because what I've found is that sometimes when I'm watching shows, they cut, like if I'm watching, the Comedy Festival Gala or something, somebody's doing a routine and it cuts to a shot in the audience and they just happen to choose the main person featured in that audience shot is really bored.
nonplussed with the whole thing.
There's 1,000 people there killing themselves laughing, but for some reason they go
There's
to the
just one
audience
person
shot.
down there killing themselves because they're not enjoying it.
But
That's what happened a few nights ago, isn't it? That we were doing a show in. See, that's a nice shot. See that guy
Yeah.
in front? He's looking like he's having a good time.
we pay him. Yeah.
But you were doing a show the other night with me, and the whole audience was having a lovely time. But there was a bit of kind of light spill coming off the stage, just hitting two people in the
Yeah.
front row that weren't having a fantastic
Yeah.
time. But we take that so personally because
Yeah.
our quest is to just make everybody have a great laugh. But you have no concept of the history of their day,
Yeah.
or whether there's been a death in the family,
Yeah,
or
or-
whether they just didn't hear the joke that we said.
And
or...
humour is so you're never going to appeal to everyone,
Yeah.
But that was one of those things where
This is
it was.
interval. Do we have to stop now?
Oh. I think we keep talking. Don't we?
Do we? Can we talk?
Yeah.
I think we
oh,
can do
no,
whatever
it's
we
back
want.
on. It's starting again now. Anyway.
Yeah, I knew it was coming on, but I just thought that. I don't know. I don't know what we thought. I don't know what I thought. I don't know what I'm doing.
I just remember the joke about the guy who was ahead.
Oh yeah,
It
great.
actually goes. A person goes in and their baby's just been born, and the doctor comes out and says to the father, "I'm sorry, I've got some bad news about your son."
Yeah.
He goes, "Really? He doesn't have any. He doesn't have any feet. Yeah, really? He doesn't have any hands either. Really, or legs or arms. He doesn't have a body. In fact, he's just an ear." And the guy goes, "Oh my God! Well, I'll love him just as well anyway." And he goes, "Yeah, but I've got some more bad news. He's deaf."
That's right.
Which is.
I
just
laughed at
remember
that,
time.
but I didn't mean
find
to.
it funny at
I
all.
didn't
You just
find it funny.
now,
Now
Melissa?
this, Melissa,
she was great.
she was fantastic. Because I like this part of the show because it actually gives you an opportunity to be a smarter... No, it gives you an opportunity to just talk to the audience, and it kind of gives you just a chance to, muck around a bit with the people that come and see you.
And it is different every night, and so that just, it makes it more spontaneous. And, but she was absolutely fantastic. I mean,
and we used to do this routine with Scott and Found Objects, but we would have... I would do the ball.
That's right. Me and Scott played tennis.
You and Scott would do the tennis. And then we didn't do the routine for about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. And we just went, we can't do it because there's not 3 of us. And then one day, one of us, I think it was me. No. One of us said, why don't we get an audience member to do the ball? And then it just...
And it was better than it
had ever been. Yeah, because Scott wasn't here. No! No,
for those people who don't know, Scott was the 3rd member of the group when we were a trio, and he's now living in New Zealand. And thanks Scott for being part of our history and like you said, contributing to the way that our actors developed and even some of the routines we're doing in this show.
That's right. So. I remember that we wrote this routine for a gig at the Geelong Lawn Tennis Club Christmas party.
That's right.
And we had only really been together for about, I don't know, a year. And this was one of our very first kind of corporate gigs. And we went down to Geelong and we only had about 40 minutes of material. And they wanted 2 25-minute halves or something. So we were just scraping together material. And then I think it was in the second half, we were doing this routine. And I think Scott hit the ball out into the audience or something. Then I went out there and I asked a guy at a table how we were going, and he said, "Oh, you're a few goals down in the last quarter, mate." Something like. Do you remember that?
Yeah. It
wasn't really what I wanted him to say.
In the opening routine, when we say we do for the deaf routine, and we go, when we first started, we were pretty shit, but we've evolved. And we at the start, it did take us a while before we really found our feet, didn't we?
It certainly did. Yeah. And I was quite overweight at that time as well, so I couldn't actually see my feet.
Couldn't find your feet.
No.
But it's I mean that's what I would recommend to any young comics is, and it's probably the same for any field, but you have to do it a lot before you get a sense of whether or not you can do it or not. You have to kind of fail a lot and learn through trial and error before you really decide whether or not, it's going to work for you.
Yeah, you have to do it. You can't just sit there talking about it, or you have to get up there in front of people and actually figure out what your on-stage persona is, as well as just the jokes. You actually have to feel comfortable with standing in front of people
And you can only do that by doing it again and again and again and again.
In front of people, and unfortunately, you have to fail during that time. And there's no way that you can't fail. No. Because you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. But you have to learn as you go. And and like I said before about, people in the audience who perhaps don't laugh at a particular joke, we go, why didn't they hear that? And then the next night we might cut that joke because they didn't laugh at that joke. But it might have been because you didn't say it clearly enough.
Yeah.
Or somebody in the audience coughed while you did the punchline.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of learn how to just use the microphone and be heard and
just be comfortable.
Project and be comfortable on stage.
That's not a very good way to develop a relationship with your audience, Carl. In fact, kiss him. Kiss him, ladies and gentlemen. Rush the stage now and get him. Stacks on column. Come on.
It would have shocked me if they did rush the stage at that point and they did attack you. That would have been funny though. If you,
a great story.
If you were crushed and killed by just a wall of angry audience members, and then cutting to the shot of me just standing on the side of the stage, just being devastated, going, "That was just a joke."
Oh my God.
He's my...
So 1,000 people just agreeing all as one to rush the stage and kill the comedian.
Because I do have this little bit of fear, when I tell people to jump off the balcony, that there's going to be some idiot who's just so overexcited who's going to think, I reckon I could jump off the balcony fine and
survive
and land in the aisle, that I'm actually and then it's going to go horribly wrong. Do you reckon actually that wire should actually be kind of a grey, so that it's... Although
So
it's
it
kind of good,
blends
we
in.
want to see that she's doing it. That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
but
I mean,
even if it was grey, you'd be able to see it.
Yeah.
Well, from the top shot that the camera just did then, do you want half of it grey and half of it black to blend in with the stage?
It's got to be basically a chameleon rod that
Yes.
just constantly changes. CGI. We've got to get those guys onto it.
But I reckon it would actually take many, many years, even hundreds of years, to be able to train a chameleon to move, to hold the ball in its mouth and move it around the stage.
Possibly. If a
in
chameleon
comedy act.
stands next to a pane of glass, does it just disappear?
I don't know whether it's got the skills to actually pretend to be
Invisibilise
invisible
itself.
yet.
Yeah,
Invisible eyes.
Probably not. Invisible eyes. Invisible eyes. Your eyes are invisible. I changed the end of that so it didn't sound too much like Bright Eyes. So we wouldn't
So
have
you're
to
allowed
pay.
to say Bright Eyes. You're allowed to say the song that you're
Yeah, I think you are.
pertaining to,
Yeah,
but you're
you
not
just-
allowed to sing it.
Yeah.
So you
So-
go. So you can go bright eyes.
think you can.
I'm singing Bright Eyes.
Or even, ladies and gentlemen, sing in your head the tune Bright Eyes,
Yeah.
but change the words to Invisible Eyes for me.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Did you do it? I don't reckon they did it. I reckon a few people did.
Melissa was great. One of the great things about this routine, why it's so fun, is really the difference from one audience member to the next can be
Is
huge.
intense, yeah.
Like in terms of the way that they approach this and whether or not they do it kind of. Like she was quite anarchic in a way, and then
Yeah.
somebody else will be quite serious about it, and you know, but it works. However they are.
I love the fact that you just pull her to the ground. I reckon. But she wouldn't let go. Seriously, I think I said it in the... She refused to let go. I don't know what was going through her mind.
She was giggling, by the way, ladies and
She
gentlemen.
was
You can't
giggling,
really
yes.
hear that, but
She
she
wasn't.
wasn't sobbing or weeping or anything. She was giggling.
She was fantastic.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much.
She was great.
That's a gift. Can I help you up there? Thank you so much. Excellent. Yeah, no, I'm sure it will. Thanks, you, Melissa.
Thanks very much. God bless
Actually, Melissa, take a bow. Take a big bow. Come on.
Well done, Melissa.
Well
Good
done,
on you.
Melissa.
Thanks for being on our DVD. You improved it hugely, immensely.
Excuse me.
Are you crying because it was so beautiful?
A lot of material in this that's gone for like, what the hell's happening now?
And how did you develop your persona, Francis? Like, as in, like, your on-stage persona? How did you...
Well, I think it's like with most comedians. Most comedians, even if they have an onstage persona that is fairly extreme,
Yep.
it's not like being an actor. You don't make up a character. It's sort of the show off that comes most naturally. You know, so it's not as if. So I think for both of us, we couldn't swap characters, and I
No.
would play the.
But if you're
boss
showing
character
off,
and-
but if you're showing off, see, it's hard now because when you show off at home or at a family function or at a social function, your show off character wouldn't be that character though. You wouldn't be the show off. You wouldn't be the same kind of show off that Frank Woodley on stage is.
Yeah, so I don't know where it came from in a way. Just from performing on stage, whatever works, you keep doing more of it, and
And whatever doesn't, you don't.
yeah, and it just sort of evolves kind of naturally. But I was always like, even at school, I was, you know, on the footy field, I'd do silly runs,
Yeah.
goofy sort of runs and stuff to try to.
And what sort of group were you in at school? Because at our school there was there was many groups, but there were three main groups with the toughs.
Yeah.
The middle, just relatively, for want of a better term, normal people,
Right.
and then the dags.
Right,
I mean, that was the three
and
groups.
the more intellectual kind of.
And then there was the intellectual ones, and then there were the other ones that were kind of loners. But
Yeah.
you wouldn't have. I can probably guess quite accurately that you weren't in the toughs. Were you?
I was the Tufts mascot.
Were you?
Yeah.
Were you the Tufts whipping boy?
Yeah, no, I wasn't in the Tufts. Although I was probably in just the middle group.
middle
and
group.
I think so, or maybe in the Dags. I don't know.
Maybe you were in the Dags, but you didn't think you were in the
Yeah,
Dags.
well, that's the thing,
Yes,
maybe,
you were
you know.
deluded.
You know,
You
but,
were in the denials.
I was.
And
well,
did you do drama at school?
I thought you were going to say drugs. I was going to no. Other
sold
than
a few.
aspirin and echinacea. No, there was no drama at my school. I mean, there was dramas in terms
there
of
were
kids
fights and
walking
stuff.
out of class and fights and.
But there's no
people-
drama classes.
No, we didn't do. We didn't do drama or acting or plays or anything like that. What about at your school?
One of the best drama classes I ever went to, which kind of... Maybe I'm going to get into some deep stuff here, but the best drama... We were talking about
Oh my God.
Just
what is this crap?
the memory that you have of...
Hey, I just want to mention
Yeah.
that just quickly, but just that Tristan talking then, that was, I can't even remember Tristan's last name, but when we recorded that, he actually voiced, this is him, Tristan, from the sound
From the
studio,
sound studio in
in
Melbourne.
Melbourne. FMTV it was called then, I think it's
Yeah.
closed down now.
Yeah, I have. That's because we never paid the bill.
But thank you, Tristan,
Thank you,
for
Tristan, for
providing
doing
that
the voiceover, because you're not an actor, but you did a great job.
Yeah, but sorry, back over to you. You were saying a story about drama class.
Drama class, and then the teacher was just teaching stuff about Shakespeare or something, and then these two people rushed into the room with balaclavas and turned over desks and took books and abused us.
Good goodness.
And then it wasn't drama at all. Actually, it was legal studies.
Right.
This was a very interesting. No, why am I even thinking that it was drama? It was just legal
Because
studies.
it was the most dramatic thing that ever happened.
It was very
at school.
dramatic. People came in, turned over desks, abused us, and then left. And then our teacher went, "Okay, I want you to write down what they look like." And so this is a.
So there were girls
He traumatised
weeping.
us.
Some poor kid's pooed his pants. You would never ever get away with that these days.
I
would
don't think you would.
Not
But
in
it was a
million
great
years.
lesson. It was a great way of teaching us the difficulties of law. And
That reminds me of Tony Martin telling a story that he was in a.
Tony Martin the comedian or Tony
Yeah.
Martin the actor?
No,
He used to
the-
be on E Street.
No, the comedian.
Okay.
He told me a story that he was in a bank once, and he was so upset with how long the line for the bank was that he'd been waiting for half an hour, and he decided to just turn to everybody in the line and go, "Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, who here thinks that this is just not good enough?" And he just in a kind of a humorous way decided to kind of have a people's revolt in the
Yeah.
bank. But as soon as he went, "Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, can I have everyone's attention, please?" All the security windows went, shoom, 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 and the security guards rushed over and grabbed him and dragged him out the back.
Right.
So,
Because the lesson is that if you are a person holding up a bank, the first thing you say is, "Excuse me."
yeah, probably not. But,
Wouldn't you say, "All you
Everybody.
mofos, get down on the ground"?
Probably. But well, maybe we should talk about the show again. We're doing Sonia. Sonia's
What
been,
show?
been a classic routine that we've done.
Sonia was in
for
the
years.
Fence show that we wrote in 1993, 4.
Yeah, the first show we did as a duo.
Probably the first song we ever wrote
Yeah.
as a duo.
Yeah, probably.
And it's
been a
still
stayer.
still going strong.
Yeah.
And it was from such a pure idea of picking on girls at school that you liked. I mean, God, how dumb can we be? Prepubescent boys. I don't know.
Yeah, try being nice to them. Try that.
Try having a conversation about some common interests. That would be nice. Maybe give them some gifts. Or, that would be a nicer idea.
It's interesting when we write. Well, I don't know if it is interesting, but I'm trying to desperately say something interesting. So I'm hoping that if I say it's interesting before I say it, that will somehow convince people that it will be interesting. When we write songs, we don't really. Neither of us are musicians. We don't really I can play the guitar, but I don't know much about the way that music works, or often I don't even know the name of the chord I'm playing often and stuff like that. And I've got a feeling that in one of the bits in that song, I play a chord that isn't in the key that I'm playing in. And so it's a
Right.
little bit wrong, but that's just because I don't know how to do it right. And that creates a little bit of character. So sometimes your limitations actually give things a bit more character. Or maybe the song isn't very good as a result. One of the two. I'm not sure.
Well, Jimi Hendrix played his guitar upside down
Right?
because he was a left-handed
Yeah.
guitarist who learnt on a right-handed guitar.
Right.
The band, the Presidents of the United States of America, play with only 3 or 4 strings on their 6-string guitars.
Really?
I think, yes.
Didn't know that.
Um,
Even I've heard that Elton John apparently can't read music. I don't know if that's true,
Yeah.
but it's possible.
Mozart was deaf.
Right, I think that was
Beethoven, even.
Beethoven, yeah.
Mozart was he couldn't make bread.
Roger Federer is blind.
Yep.
You know, but you work within your limitations, and then
Yeah.
you can still excel.
Roger Federer actually doesn't know how to score in tennis. He's a
doesn't he?
great tennis player, but he can't quite understand the 15 love, 30 love.
Which is not
you know.
surprising because it's very cryptic.
It's
How about 1-0?
yeah, 2-0,
Yeah.
4 points, you win the game. It's very hard to
Wouldn't you
describe
be-
to kids like the concept of 15 love, 30 love, and then 40 love, and then advantage receive. You know,
How disappointed would you be if you're a tennis player and you were born in the era of Roger Federer? Because he's just a freak. He's like...
or what about Tiger Woods?
Yeah,
You know,
it's
you're
true.
Ernie Els or Phil Mickelson, or you're just like great, but you can't quite get over Tiger.
Yeah, no, well. And that's what it's probably a bit like for you as well, isn't it, being born in the same era as me? Like, you're a great comedian, but...
A great comedian who gets laughs from just blowing just toxic chemicals at my head.
By the way, that's carbon dioxide. For all the kids at school, don't ever do that with a fire extinguisher, because some of them do have toxic chemicals in them, and some of them just have the carbon dioxide in. So
Yes.
don't muck around with that.
Don't
It
muck
could
around with that kind
go.
of stuff.
Horribly wrong.
Yes.
And also, don't muck around with mime rifles, kids, because you might accidentally be mucking around and it might go off and it might shoot a mime. If there are any mimes in the area, they could be killed. That's a joke I do in the show earlier, but anyway.
But you're just going to do it again anyway.
Yeah. You know, I actually saw this guy in the mall once, and he was a mime, and he just finished his act, and then this guy came up with a truck, and he had to unload like a massive aquarium. So the mime gave him a bit of a hand, kind of loading the aquarium into the shop, but then the aquarium fell on top of the mime, so he was actually genuinely trapped in a glass box, and he couldn't get out, but everyone thought he was just doing mime, and he suffocated to death. It was really sad. I saw that once in a mall.
Did you?
Yeah. How long did it take to train this chicken?
Many, many hours, many, many days, many weeks, many months, many
I remember
years.
there was discussions about
Why doesn't
whether
he have any legs?
Well, that's what I was about to say. There were discussions about whether or not he needed legs, and we ended up going, no, it looks like the legs are under their blurring movement. Whereas if we had legs dangling down, it might be a bit more difficult to.
And Frank is
manage.
quite a... I'm going to say some complimentary things about you here.
First time in 20 years.
Frank
Must be getting
is
sentimental.
really good with his hands, and he makes really
In
good...
more ways than one, lovely ladies.
Yeah,
You
that's
should see
interesting.
Cole's face. It's so unamused. It's appropriate that we're performing in Her Majesty's Theatre because Cole is unamused.
But how did you make the chicken?
Taking this seriously.
It's just a bit of. I bent the wire and I bought a cheap bag from a $2 shop, and that's what
Cheap bag as in what sort of bag?
like a rucksack kind of bag, and
Yeah.
I cut the clips off, and that's what clips behind your back.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I just got a bit of a wire and fishing rod, made the frame.
Yep.
And the chicken's made out of a polystyrene ball and a feather boa, and then some gaffer tape.
Really?
Yeah, so it was fun. I enjoy making stuff like that. I know it's kind of weird too. No, it's
No,
not
it's
weird.
not weird at all.
I mean, I
it's
know
not
it's
weird at all. People love to
yeah.
create stuff.
Yeah, and I do enjoy sitting down and making something like that.
Yeah.
Gives me pleasure.
And you enjoy making stuff like that looks ridiculous and then suggest to me that I wear it in the show.
Yeah, wear it attached around your genitals. How would you feel about that? Is
Yeah.
that okay?
Yeah. It's like when I used to come up with ideas of how I could hit Frank with blunt instruments, and he'd turn up to rehearsal and I'd go, "Hey Frank, I found this plastic cricket bat. I reckon if I hit your forehead, that would be really funny for the audience."
And apologise.
Apologise.
That's a big laugh, but we only ever did that on that one night.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Exactly.
a lot of those things you just... I mean, we do have... we don't have a script or anything like that. We just sort of know the basic routines and we deliver them a little bit different every night, don't we, to try to
We know the
keep it-
beginning, we know the middle, we know the end, and we kind of can fiddle about with other elements within it.
Yeah, and I think that helps keep it kind of a bit more
Yeah.
spontaneous, because we've got to be listening to each other, because we won't necessarily say the thing that we've ever said before.
Huh?
Hey, you know how that's fairy claps like that? You know how that's fairy claps?
I
That's a
like this
fairy
bit because
audience going off.
this is a bit that only happened on the one night when the guy yells out something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, I think he had a weird laugh.
Yeah.
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 We've had some jokes, but now's not the time. No, so can you not? Because
So we're
no,
just
please
watching
don't.
this bit.
We're
now.
just watching this bit,
yeah.
apparently. Yeah. You
We don't
like watching yourself, don't you?
No, it's just because of the guy coming up, and then I like how we
just sort of-
listened for.
Can you please let's bring it? And I don't want to from. I heard a little. What can we do?
Was he from the
I just
planet
like to
Orc?
apologise.
Was he
This-
from
I
Mork
like
and Mindy?
this. I just find that very satisfying. It's good that he came through. You know, we waited. But you remember we did a show in Adelaide one year, and there was a woman in the audience who had a weird laugh.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Who had a squeaky laugh that was kind of like. And every time we'd get a laugh, she would then laugh, and then we'd get another laugh for her laughing. And
Yeah.
it was great.
Those were the nights where you just went, oh, the comedy gods are shining upon us. Because that's
Yeah.
a great vibe in the theatre when you can orchestrate that kind of magic.
And it was great performing in Her Majesty's during the Comedy Festival. That was, I think, in fact, I would say that season in Her Majesty's during the Comedy Festival this year was the most successful season we've ever done, wouldn't it be? You know,
Yeah.
in terms of,
Yeah.
you know, there was...
Because we were going to do the town hall, because that's obviously the centre of the whole comedy festival precinct, and people just flocked to that as a venue. But I mean, the town hall is a great venue, but it's not.
It's not a permanent venue.
It's not a
you know,
permanent
it's
venue, so it's not a permanent kind of theatre with theatre acoustics and the intimacy of other theatres. So that's why we kind of decided to choose Her Majesty's, because it had a fantastic vibe and basically it was a real theatre.
Yeah,
it was
and
a
it
real
was so
theatre, and to
good
actually
performing in
to
there.
actually have 1,600 people packed into a specifically built room that has great sight lines and that kind of stuff. It just makes everybody, including us, have a much better time.
Yeah, it was really special. We're wrapped. I mean, and it's Her Majesty's. Was it Queen Victoria?
Haven't we already talked about this?
I don't know.
Didn't we talk about it at the beginning of the show? Talk about...
I'm not sure. It wasn't Queen
Queen
Elizabeth
Elizabeth?
I, was it? She was in the 1600s. I doubt that the English would have sort of sent over a little group of people to build a theatre in Australia in the 1600s for the Aboriginal people to enjoy.
Before Captain Cook came.
Yeah, no.
No, I don't
so
think so,
probably Queen
no.
Victoria or...
No.
Anyway, the Comedy Festival is...
Comedy Festival.
absolutely incredible. I mean, it's been going for about as long as maybe 21 years.
21 years. I think it was the
something.
21st year this year.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've done a show in the Comedy Festival almost every year, and it's been so good to us over the years. It's been...
It started around Fitzroy in Melbourne, and then kind of moved into the city a few years after that. And they have like 300,000 people go to shows or something.
Yeah, it's
it might
great.
even be a million. I'm not
Right.
sure.
Let's say it's 10 million.
Let's say it's 20 billion people go to comedy festival shows during that time, and it's a fantastic festival. It's and we
So if you're not from Melbourne, but you're considering doing, and you're a comedy, freak, comedy lover, you should try to get down during April, during the Melbourne International Comedy Festival, because there's so much on. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, there is. There's so much on and such a good vibe, and there's a lot. It's one of those festivals that really thrives on word of mouth and people asking complete strangers what they thought of shows, because there's such a huge choice of shows to
Yeah.
go to that people actually need to talk to complete strangers to recommend
Yeah, so there's
shows
quite a kind
to
of community
see or
feeling
avoid.
happening, and it's
Yeah.
great. It's really good.
Yeah. The Melbourne International Comedy Festival. Go and participate in it. I'm going to move into advertising
Yeah, I
next
was
year.
just thinking you could
Yes.
do the whole.
Give me another product and I'll do an ad for it right now.
Okay, what about eyebrow wigs?
No, you're supposed to give me something simple and then I kind of do something intricate
okay.
with it, okay?
Okay, well-
Okay.
well,
Eyebrow wigs, okay. eyebrow wigs. Use eyebrow wigs.
Wear them even.
Wear them. Eyebrow wigs. Lano's eyebrow wigs. Wear them. Use them.
We've gone mad, ladies and gentlemen. We've been doing this commentary for about an hour and a half, and we have lost our minds.
Yes. Yep.
You know what's interesting about this little routine with the dropping is that, of course, how do you find out how high you can do it before it's too high and you hit the ground? And ladies and gentlemen, there's only one way to find that out, and that's to go too high, which we did do, and we worked out that 5 metres was the maximum height. Once we got to 5.5 metres, I started to hit the ground. So
we used to do this trick in the old days, not as responsibly as we should have done it, because we got 2 tarpaulins, and not particularly good quality ones.
No.
2 tarpaulins, and then rolled over the edges of the tarpaulin and then put gaffer tape or masking tape over the roll so it established a roll that people could hang on to, and that's what Frank dropped into. And
there wasn't even good handle grips for people.
no.
Yeah, that was
What
rather
about
stupid.
that guy who held the tarpaulin, who was the mason, the stonemason, not
never-
the mason as in, secret handshake.
No,
But
Mason, takes one to know one. That's a joke about a secret handshake that's never worked as well. I've tried that a few times.
Amanda. Okay.
But there's Amanda, she was the one...
But anyway, the stonemason
Oh, yeah,
with the
that's
2
right.
tarpaulins, and it kind of stretched a bit and was quite
Yeah.
unsafe. And there was a guy who was a stonemason who was one of the people coming up to catch Frank, and he, because he's a stonemason, his hands are just wet all day, just constantly wet because you need a lot of water on the stone to help you cut it. And so he grabbed hold of the tarpaulin really tightly, and then when Frank dropped into it, it came slightly out of his hands, but out of his hands also came all his fingernails.
Oh, is that true?
That's true.
Someone told us that they knew someone. That
Yeah.
we never saw his
We never saw him,
fingerless
but he
hand,
went back into the
fingernailless.
audience and was, how do you... That's making my bottom go
I
in.
choose to believe that that's a myth.
Do you?
that we
I
made up at
choose to
once.
believe that that is a myth.
Yeah.
I choose. I choose. And when I choose to think something is a myth, I like to sound like I'm a little bit of a cross between Queen Victoria and Dame Edna Everage. I choose.
You'll notice when I land into this
I notice.
on this mat that I get off the mat really quickly.
There's a laugh here when you get off. Oh, no, was that last night in the show? Last night. Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll just have a look. No, we're right.
But you know, the reason why I get off really quickly is because there was a night where the audience thought, hey, you know what would be really funny if we start chucking Frank up in the air. And that was a little uncontrollable,
Yes.
So
I just wonder whether there's a big laugh when you get off here.
you watch how quickly I get off. I go and land and off. Slide off as quickly as I can to not give them a chance to chuck me into the air. See, he looks a bit bored.
Yeah,
That's
he's
one
just
of those
kind of
audience
chewing
shots
something.
where-
He's just chewing on a minty or something.
Good, strong. That's what we want. Excellent. Good on you. Thanks for your
I
moral
like this
support.
guy's face when I
love
kiss
you
him.
dearly.
Look at the as he goes out of frame.
Thanks, guys.
Was that Aston Kutcher?
We've been punked. This whole filming has just been an elaborate ruse by Ashton Kutcher.
Getting towards the end here, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks for. I wonder if anybody has listened to all of this commentary. I reckon there's probably a few people have.
If you've listened to the entire commentary from start to finish and actually tolerated our kind of just wanton
Waffle.
can you wanton as in like, giving of something, not like a fried wonton that you get at a Chinese restaurant, but if you've listened to this entire commentary, can you write a letter to Token Management in Brunswick Street, Fitzroy in Melbourne, and then we'll send you a questionnaire and there's a little test on over then they can cheat by just watching the DVD. Anyway, just send us a letter if you...
Because we just want to know if anybody actually listened to the
Yeah.
commentary
Yeah.
or not.
Bye, guy. Try, hi,
You know.
bye. Or if you were a pirate, you could go hi.
And this fight, I mean, not the tie-high pie stuff, but
Or if the pie was made of eyeballs,
the fight and the finger suck kind of that ends this bit, we kind of did as a, not kind of, we did do it as a trio with Scott as well.
Yeah.
I think Scott actually said, "Don't you ever touch me again," and you sucked his finger.
I'll suck anyone's finger for a laugh. I'm that kind of.
I'm glad you didn't say, "I'll suck anyone's finger for a buck." That's what's interesting about our relationship, because we've spent so much time together, and we joke so much about, you know, giving each other space and giving each other time away from each other so the relationship still stays fresh. And it's not a very intimate relationship. I mean, we're friends and we're, you know,
Yeah.
we're good friends. But you suck my finger I mean, let's say you've sucked my finger about 500 times.
Yeah. And there's no way.
And I never think about it before it happens.
I think you have to not, don't you? Because there's no. If you knew Cole as, you know, in terms of, you know, as a regular person, you would understand that there's no way he would let someone suck his finger in any normal circumstance. You know, it's just not really. Like, he's the kind of guy that even if a chair is still warm from the
You don't have
previous
to tell
person
people this.
who sat in it, he kind of goes, "Oh, it feels a bit uncomfortable." So that's a great sacrifice you've made to bring
think-
laughter to the.
But you
to
think
the people.
hygiene is overrated.
Well, I just think that, you know, if a little bit of dirt and grime actually boosts your immune system.
Really?
You know what I mean? It's better to be a bit filthy.
Filthy?
Yeah, you know, I reckon. You know, like for hundreds of millions of years, we didn't bathe every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We
And
survived.
we also died at 26.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
That was a good point.
So we're getting towards the end of the show now, aren't we? Or not really, because kind of the end of the show, and then we come out and do the sort of
Do the
curtain call that then
goodbye and
goes on
flowers
for
and
quite a
stuff.
while.
Yeah.
But we're sort of getting towards the
Look
end.
at him, ladies and gentlemen. He hasn't even got a bum. He just goes legs, legs, legs back. And
That's a
there's
bit
no way
rude.
for the poo to go, so it just comes out your mouth constantly.
See, now you say
fair enough, all
the
right.
poo's
Okay,
got nowhere to go, and
the
the
shit
shit
comes
just
out his
comes out of your
mouth.
mouth, gets a much better reaction. But, you know,
But don't say that, because that kind of disappoints the people that
Oh,
have bought
right.
this
Okay,
DVD. don't you
disregard
think?
that, ladies and gentlemen.
Disregard what he said.
Yeah.
I feel like a judge. Disregard that last comment. It's like whenever
Strike
you
it
watch,
from the record.
Whenever you see those crime shows on TV, they go, "Objection! Sustained. Jury, you will disregard that last interaction." You go,
Yeah.
they can't just pretend it didn't happen.
yeah,
I mean, sure,
exactly.
it won't end up on the final court report of
But
evidence.
they've heard it,
But
and they're the
they've
people
heard
who are
it
going
with
to
their
choose.
ears, and then they're going to go into the room and decide whether the person's guilty or not, and then of course they're going to talk about it.
Do you
anyway.
ever think that, like, you know how English judges and Australian judges wear those wigs?
Yeah.
But American judges don't wear them. Like,
Really?
yeah, you know, in all the American TV shows and the court dramas, they never have those wigs on.
Well, they've got toupees, some of them.
Yeah, some of them are wearing wigs.
Yeah.
But not
But not
the
the
big
traditional white curly
wigs.
ones, yes.
And I was just thinking, you know, that imagine if you know, if an American person was charged with a crime in Australia and they went into an Australian court and they didn't know anything about the wigs, and then they've been, you know, there's a judge sitting up there, they just think that guy has got like the
Worst toupee.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That's what I was thinking. But I can't, you know, he's in no position to judge me. Look at his shocking sense of fashion. They are a bizarre kind of oldie worldy throwback, aren't they? The wig, that wig that the judges
That
wear.
the judges wear, yeah,
it's kind of-
absolutely.
it's kind of it's
Yeah.
bizarre, but I like it. It's all a bit kooky.
I like a bit of dress-ups.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually a cross-dresser myself. I mean,
Are
I don't
you?
wear women's clothes. When I get dressed, I sometimes get a bit annoyed about the whole thing. And it's difficult to get their feet into between your jocks, the holes in your jocks, and I'm bloody.
Oh, bloody jokes. Bloody mumra. Oh, the bloody
She's a human being!
Yes.
Show her some respect!
Look at that acting performance
Yeah.
by
The hands
Frank
by the
Woodley there.
sides. What kind of... Well, here's an interesting game.
Yeah.
If we were going to make a film about Lano Woodley's life, who would play you
Okay.
in the film of our career?
Okay, that's a good point. That's a very good
Could
point.
you know, like Oliver Platt play me, or
Well, if you weren't
or
going-
Nathan Lane?
Yeah, Nathan Lane would be good
Nathan
for you for
Lane.
two reasons. One is he shares your surname, but also he's got that he could play the straight man, but he's also quite bizarre and hilarious as well. So
Yeah.
he's got that similar. Yeah, Nathan Lane would be a good choice. For me, I don't know. Gene Wilder.
Gene
He's a bit
Wilder.
older. He could play my grandfather, my grandfather or something. Kate Winslet.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's the best idea you've had in years. So I'm Oliver Platt.
Yeah, and I'm being played by Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
Or maybe Brad Pitt. He could do
Excuse me?
Or, you know, because I've got that raw sex appeal, you know.
Yeah, I think you're raw. And
You know,
you're-
because often, you know, women do throw their underpants up on stage. Well, they're not women that throw their underpants, but underpants do get thrown at me on
Right,
stage.
really?
Usually they're white Y-fronts and they're soiled, so maybe it's a different message they're trying to give me. But,
Yeah, I think
know.
it is.
Um,
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Lano Woodley are going to be the life story is going to be filmed very soon, ladies and gentlemen. Watch out for it. It's going to be called Lano Woodley.
Just stay away from me, all right? Because it's finished. It's kaput, it's over, it's gone.
Yeah, it's getting a bit
Finished.
dramatic here
Stay
at the
away.
end.
Yeah.
Don't come near me again. In fact, don't you ever touch me again. Don't you ever touch me again. Don't you?
Will I harmonise with this?
Touch me again. Don't you ever touch me again. Don't you ever touch me again. Don't you ever touch me again.
Oh.
Don't you ever touch me
Yeah.
again. Don't you touch me.
This is an example where you do make me laugh. Yeah, I'm trying not to...
Touch me.
Because he never does that, ladies and gentlemen. What he's doing now in this show. He
It's
never
hard
does
to build
that in any
dramatic
show.
tension up when I'm pissing myself.
Don't you ever touch me again.
He's gonna suck his finger. Like he has hundreds of times. He's gonna put his finger in his mouth. And then sometimes I have a very strange kind of attitude to biting my nails.
Yeah.
And sometimes they get quite long, and I feel like I actually cut your tongue when my finger goes in there.
I don't remember ever singing this part of the song and having blood sort of coming out of my mouth. But, goodbye, Melbourne, and goodbye, people who are listening to the commentary on the DVD. No, we probably have to keep, not have to, choose to keep talking in the,
Is that
over the
Freudian?
next little bit.
But no, we don't.
No, we don't. We maybe don't have to keep talking.
No, we don't have to keep on talking. Why don't we talk with gaps in between?
Are crazy.
What
Colin, you were just...
we
Colin,
say?
Sit down.
Because people say that
One of you.
the less is more,
Yeah.
basically. So
Yeah.
if you don't say much, I mean, it's better to be. It's better to remain silent and be thought of as a fool than to speak and remove. It's better to start a quote and not know how it's going to end. It's better to remain silent and be thought of as a fool than to speak and remove all doubt.
Right.
You
right.
know?
That's true.
Are you with me or
No,
against me?
No, I'm with you. You just when you came out, then you went, sit down. Oh, you already have about that. And here's a little question for you.
Yes.
In terms of a lot of comedy, you talk about
All about me.
and me,
I'll let you do the harmony.
All the things I see.
and also what I see.
I feel it. Got a feeling. As long as we're together, it'll be okay. Hey. Here's a question. What's the capital of Greece? No?
Athens, is it?
Correct.
I wonder. I do a joke sometimes where I say we did get a standing ovation once, but we were performing to an audience that was completely made up of midgets, so they actually all went down a bit,
Yes.
right? Now,
Yeah.
is that joke? Is that?
Sizest?
Yeah, because it's not really about... I'm not saying that people who are small are any better or worse. It's got nothing to do with whether or not they're...
It's not derogatory.
It's not derogatory. It's just the fact that if they get off a chair if you're small enough and you get off a chair, you go down.
I think it's bordering on derogatory now. Derogatory.
It's funny because it's not. It's an interesting territory where, and obviously the joke must be fueled a little bit because it's funnier if you say that, and you say midgets rather than children. Mm-hmm. Same joke would apply, but it is a bit funnier. But then is that because it's fueled by the fact that it's a taboo and people are nervous about disability and people being different and all that. But it's an interesting territory when you.
It's an interesting terrier and it's an interesting territory. And
if it was an audience completely made up of terriers and they all got off the chairs, they might run under the chairs.
Yeah, chasing a chewed up old kind of dirty ball.
But I'm not sure if I should have even brought that up because certainly if there is any people who have any kind of qualities that are different to the norm, it's fine by me.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
I did it on purpose.
I reckon that we are leading up to the final moment of this show. And I would like to ask you, Francis.
Oh, okay. Sounding a bit serious.
Semi-serious. Well, no, serious. It's a serious question. You can choose to answer it any way you like.
Okay.
But I was just wondering whether, because we are we're actually approaching the final moments of this show.
Yeah.
And I think that we should maybe just leave us to do the walk-off perhaps and, to leave that fresh... I don't know. Anyway, is there anything you want to say to the people who have come to see us over the years? Or the people who are watching this DVD, do you have anything to say to them as to how it's made you feel, or anything final about this show that you would like to change, or perhaps would you just like me to still just make this question so long-winded that by the time we get to the end of the show you haven't had time to answer it? Which would you prefer? Would you prefer just the... All right, I'll shut up. Is there anything you want to say?
Okay, I'll say, I would like to say, thanks to everyone for coming and laughing at us, because if there weren't people enjoying what we did, we couldn't have had the incredible experiences we've had, So thank you to anybody who's ever laughed at a Lano Woodley routine, and also like to thank everybody who helped, Lano Woodley through our entire career, including the various people who have helped kind of manage us and organise us and stuff like that. And also specifically with this, I'd like to mention Michelle Wild, who was our manager for 10 years. She is a great friend of ours and did fantastic work with us, and we really appreciate her. And also all of the people who helped put this tour together. There's a whole kind of, there's actually probably dozens of people who have helped us put this tour together, including all the people who work at Token and Visual Playground and Traffic Light productions, and then all the people in all the individual theatres that we've...
Oh, yeah.
There's
all the people from Karratha to Brisbane to Lismore to Darwin to
there's
Launceston.
The technical crews, but then there's the people who work in the front of house and who, the ushers and
all the people that design the ads. And
yeah, exactly. It's we couldn't have done it without you all.
The people who have to watch the same show every night for 3 weeks in Melbourne.
That's got to hurt your brain.
That's got to hurt your brain if you've got because there's a spotlight operator who stands up the back, and one spot operator is on me and the other spot operator is on Frank, and they have to follow us wherever we go on stage, and to actually listen to us crap on for 3 weeks every night.
Have you noticed that often in the first show the spot is kind of jiggly because the spot operator is laughing at the show, and that stops pretty quickly?
Yeah, that stops pretty quickly.
They get a lot more controlled.
I would hazard a guess that the spotty operators are not going to listen to the commentary.
No, probably not. But you never know. Yeah. But so thank you.
Thank
basically
you.
to everybody who's helped us over this over our career, and certainly over this tour, and it's really been a joy, hasn't it?
It has been a joy, Frank, and you are a wonderful boy.
And
Frank,
you're a wonderful boy as well.
Thank you.
So it's been amazing, and
it has,
and it's been the best tour we've ever done.
It certainly has.
And we've really loved doing it, and it's been a great way for us to finish in terms of our,
It has been.
Duo performing live.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as the giant eagle takes us away into the ether, we'd like to say thank you once again. And
Thanks, everyone.
thank you so much. Goodbye. Goodbye.